Hi. It's possible for us to feel like we've listened to someone without them feeling like they've been understood. So our definition of the skill understanding is this. When you summarize someone else's point of view in such a way that they say, yes, that's absolutely my point of view, you've understood them completely. But understanding someone doesn't mean you agree with them. Let's look at an example to understand what we mean by this. Let's say a lady has taken 6 months off to have a baby and now wants to get back to work. But her husband tells her he feels that there's no rush to get back to work because their financial situation is healthy, and he feels that although they can get nannies and the family can help, it would be much better for the baby to have more time with the mother for the first year. If the wife responds with, "So, what you're saying is my career is not important?" This is not what the husband is saying, but that might be what she's afraid he really means. And subconsciously, she might feel that summarizing his position in this manner can make him defensive and maybe agree to her point of view. But that's not what he's saying. What he's saying is that they're financially okay, and he feels that the mother's attention is better than any substitute for it in the first year of a child's life. He's not saying that her career is not important. But then, to counter this accusation, he says to her, "So, are you saying that our baby is not important to you?" Which is of course not what the wife is saying. She's actually saying that she feels it's possible for a woman to manage both her career and give sufficient love and care to her child with the support of her husband, family, and hired help. She's not saying that the baby is not important. But sometimes when we are listening to people, our own beliefs and biases prevent us from understanding the other person. And subconsciously, we feel that we can manipulate people by stating their point of view in a distorted way and make them feel guilty or ashamed. But this becomes a huge block to a productive conversation. Let's look at another example from a professional situation. A manager from the sales function submits his expenses late, and the finance executive says that the deadline for expense submissions has passed. And the sales manager says, "So, you're saying you're not going to help me?" He subconsciously wants to make the finance executive feel defensive. And it might work if the finance executive doesn't like disappointing people. But the finance executive might also respond by saying, "You sales guys have no discipline, and then you blame us and you try to get us to break the system." If the sales manager understood the finance executive, he would simply say, "So, you're saying that the deadline has passed." If he has understood the other person, he can move forward in the conversation. He could ask if there's someone who can authorize an exception, or he can ask when the next submission date is. For a productive conversation, you've got to understand each other, which means that you can state the other person's point of view in a way that they say, "Yes, that's what I'm trying to say." And they can say your point of view in a way that you say, "Yes, that's exactly what I'm trying to say." Sometimes we get impatient listening to someone else's point of view because we think that if we listen to them, they'll think that we are agreeing with them. Other people too might have the same fear while listening to us. But we can listen to each other without agreeing with each other. So share your point of view and make sure that other people have understood you. Listen to their point of view and make sure that you've understood them. It doesn't mean that you agree with each other. But you can't find a way forward towards agreement unless you first understood each other. Here's an exercise for you to practice understanding. Pick a point of view that you don't agree with, something controversial. It could be why someone else supports a political party that you don't support. It could be why someone believes in God while you don't, or why someone doesn't believe in God while you do. Then summarize your understanding of their position to them. If they say that you've distorted their position, then you're still not willing to understand them. But if they say, "Yes, that's how I see it," then you know that you've described their point of view without any distortion. You may not agree with them, but you've understood them. And that's the foundation on top of which real conversations are built.